Hey y'all, this is the collector in the corner, and there's a collector.
Well, what I'm doing today,
What is you doing?
I'm trying to figure something out.
Okie dokie.
I'm looking at this EGR valve. It's just
Yucky.
what I got this 82 Chevrolet truck.
Yes'm.
And that engine never would idle just like it should. It didn't run good. I run a compression test on it and adjusted the valves and put new plugs in it and all that. Couldn't tune it up. Changed carburetor. It's got this intake here on there. If you look around here, Debbie, get around this side. There's only 2 bolts holds that carburetor on. 1, 2. And I've suspected a vacuum leak on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've sprayed around there and can't seem to find one there. This, that, and other. Well, I pulled that intake off.
Uh-huh.
And all I could find today was these gaskets.
Cool.
It's slathered in silicone.
They're blue.
Yeah, but they've been trying to do something with it. There's silicone all over. I peeled most of it off. But you can get over here and look on the engine. Come here a minute, man.
Okay, eyes are coming.
See down here? There's silicone. Like silicone.
Uh-huh.
It's all over under this intake.
Uh-huh.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a completely different intake. Clean all that up real good. And put another intake on there. And I've never in my life had to put silicone on the intake gaskets on a small block Chevy.
Uh-huh. Why not?
And the only other thing I can think of,
Yeah.
that's supposed to be in a rebuilt short block.
Yep.
And they may have decked the block and milled the heads, and that would set the cylinder heads down lower,
Uh-huh.
and the manifold might not fit. I see it's got them thin metal head gaskets. I might have to pull the heads and put some thicker head gaskets on it to raise that deck back up. The block may have been decked too much and the heads milled too much. It's the only other thing I can think of causing that, but I'm sure it was getting intake leak from underneath, because if you let it sit and idle,
Yeah.
it'd do like a motor does, the engine does, it's got bad valve guides.
Mm-hmm.
It's sitting idle, you start it up, drive off, it'd blow blue smoke. And all I can think of, it was sucking oil up from underneath that intake into the engine, and then when you got out, you blow that out. But you blow some blue smoke like one of the bad valve guides.
Ah.
But I don't know.
Mhm.
I do know one thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to work on that intake. If I don't fix it, I'm going to junk the truck. I'm
Ah.
going to park the thing out, and I'm tired of fooling with it. It's got a good transmission in it. It ain't a bad old truck.
Mm-hmm.
Just need.
I used to drive it to work.
Yeah. Yeah, Debbie was driving it. There's a story. Debbie's driving it to work.
Yes, I was driving it to work.
And the air conditioning worked good on it. It didn't have, this motor wasn't in it. I took this engine out of a different truck and put in here. But what happened, she called me from work. She said, Randall, that truck's knocking. And I says, has it got oil pressure? And she said, yeah, it's got oil pressure. Go oil in it. It ain't low oil. And I said, it's probably a lifter or something. Go ahead and drive it home. And I could hear her coming down the road as she come here. Heard them rods a knocking. I said, man, that's a rod knocking. So I pulled it over there, and crawled under there and dropped the oil pan off of it. Looked there, and number 6 and number 7 rods was discolored. Been hot. So I pulled it off, and pulled the rod caps off, and pulled the cranks down on that thing. Got them bearing shells out, and boys eat up down into the babbitt. There wasn't nothing left of that crankshaft. I look on the back of that bearing shell, it says 020, 20,000 under. I say, somebody's turned the crank on this thing sometime or other. Well, it's easy to get to. Number 8 rod cap was sticking in there, and I just pulled the number 8 off, which it wasn't loose. And I cleaned the back off of it. It says STD, standard. Somebody before me had bearings go out of that engine and had sanded that crank and put 20,000s under bearings on it. And me and her had been changed oil in this truck a couple times, and we'd been to Arkadelphia and back. Went down there and got a little pickup I bought down there. We'd been to Arkadelphia and back, and I'd been to Little Rock a time
Yeah,
or
but
two.
you forgot the first time I called you, I was coming home from work and it was overheating.
Yeah.
And a radiator hose had got a hole in it.
Yeah.
You come and had to rescue me.
Yep, that was about a day
And that
or two
was
before that.
That was probably the beginning of the end.
Yeah. But we'd been all over in it with,
Yeah,
with that sanded crank, and I'd even changed oil a couple times. We drove it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's because it had air and it felt good. And
I run across this other truck, didn't have no title to it, and it had this engine in it, and there's supposed to have been a newly rebuilt engine. And I got it running, and the more I run it, the worse it runs. But, you know, we just didn't want to idle good, and, you know, didn't want to start good unless you just pump the fire out of the gas, you know, or prime the carburetor to get it to start when it's cold.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it may pull the heads off of it. But I've run a compression test on it, and all the valves is good in it. But it shows every indication of being some kind of intake manifold leak. But anyway, that 350 that's in here, it's over there. The crankshaft's burned up in it. It's no good. You know. So I guess what we're going to do, this will be part 1 of this video. I'm going to put an intake on it, and I'll come back and do another video, and we'll either call it a success or a failure. But I'm not going to put no silicone on the intake manifold gaskets. I ain't never had to do that in my life.
There's a first time for everything.
Yeah, but we were fixing motors before we ever had that silicone.
Don't matter. There's still first time for everything.
We'd put a little yellow glue down there, weather strip glue at the corners of this end gaskets on the manifolds to hold them in place. But you put them gaskets on there, you know, the only thing we ever put on them was a little bit of axle grease to hold them in place.
So this is how many tools it takes to tear down a vehicle.
Well, that's how many tools it took to tear off the top of that engine, yeah. But that 2-barrel carburetor now.
Oh, you about?
That's a 2GC Rochester.
A Rochester? I thought it was a Rochester.
There's no D in Rochester. But anyway, them pretty simple, good cars.
I don't think there's a D in Rochester. I may say it with a D, but I don't think it's got a D.
But anyway.
Okay, Randy. Okay, Randy, I just won't call you.
This manifold's EGR manifold. And I'm going to find one that's got 4 bolt holes in it, or put a 4-barrel intake on it. I may put a 4-barrel on it.
You know what? I can help you get that grease off of there.
What?
I can help you get all that grease off of there.
How's that?
Matches.
That'll work.
Matches and gas.
Before I tore this down this morning, I power washed it with my power washer.
No, you didn't.
But that manifold's pretty dirty.
It don't look like it was power washed.
Somebody put that manifold on there dirty. They didn't clean it up when they put it on there.
You didn't even power wash your tools. Jiminy crickets.
So I guess that'll be all for this one.
Yeah.
You got to see me. I do get work on stuff and get dirty. It's pretty day today.
Yes, it is pretty.
Anyway, Debbie's been doing laundry.
Yeah, I've been doing laundry. The kids been playing outside.
So we'll say goodbye and good luck to you.
Yes, and thank you all. And please like and subscribe. Bye.